What is going on, everybody? I am the FD Guru, bringing to you guys an NFL Week 16 value video using FanDuel salaries. We've got 7 games in the early window, 4 in the afternoon window, 2 games on Saturday this week. That always makes Saturday a little bit more exciting. Decent value right now. We got some things we got to wait on. As always, I'm going to give you some of my favorite plays at each position. Give this video a like, subscribe. I'll give you another Guru credit code as well after the first few plays for 20 Guru credits. Hopefully these plays help you out. I don't think this is a week we want to spend up at quarterback. Josh Allen, tougher matchup in Cleveland. He can still get a ton of fantasy points. We know what he can do. But there's so much good spend ups at running back and some decent wide receiver spend ups. I don't think we want to spend up at quarterback at all. I think we need to save the money here. We have some cheaper value plays, which might make us feel a little bit uncomfortable. But in this video, we're going to look at JJ McCarthy, 6,500. Great matchup against the Giants at MetLife. Coming off of a couple of really good games, had a couple of really bad games. Granted, those 2 games he played terrible were, tough spots against the Bears and then in Green Bay. The last 2 weeks when he's faced a, average or below average defense, he's done well. Commanders, he got 20.5 fantasy points last week, 24.5 against the Cowboys. And he's got a great matchup this weekend against the Giants. I think he's worth the pick at 6,500. I think he's going to be popular. All he needs is anywhere towards 15 fantasy points. We're going to feel really good about it. He's averaging that on the year. He can run a little bit. He had a rushing touchdown last week. I don't mind JJ McCarthy at all. He's not a guy that I usually look at, but at 6,500, it's hard to ignore that cheap of a price. We're going to have Gardner Minshew starting against the Titans at 6,500 after Mahomes had that season-ending injury. I don't like Gardner Minshew. I mean, I think he's washed up. I don't think he was ever good, but the matchup's great against the Titans. If you wanted to look his way, he's certainly viable. I like JJ McCarthy more, but if you wanted to get different, Gardner Minshew is definitely in play this week. Quinn Ewers, I'm doing this video on Wednesday. Wednesday morning, they announced that Tua is sitting. They are going to start Quinn Ewers at 6,300, obviously not priced to be starting, especially against the Bengals defense. I don't mind him either. Like I said, I think we spend down on quarterback this week. We have very viable options. And it allows us to spend up at running back, which is what I am prioritizing as of right now. Any of those cheap guys you could look at. In terms of guys in the 7, even Aaron Rodgers against the Lions, they're going to have to throw. He looked pretty good. He's looked good the last couple of weeks, 20 and 17 fantasy points. Lions defense has been prone to giving up some big plays. I don't mind Rodgers at 6,900. Just another guy in the 6Ks you could definitely look at. Trevor Lawrence has been a beast. Harder matchup against the Broncos, but the Jaguars have been playing really good. 47 fantasy points is insane. Price is good, though, at 7,100. Tougher matchup, but Lawrence probably won't have high ownership. We know what his ceiling is. CJ Stroud against this Raiders defense. There's a lot of good, cheaper quarterbacks this week. I'm going to put JJ McCarthy in for now. Running back, I mean, the spend-ups are unbelievable. The top 3 guys, how do you say any bad things about him? I think A-Chain's the worst one out of the bunch. He's projected for 108 rushing and receiving yards at 9,800. Jahmyr Gibbs is projected for 115 rushing and receiving yards, but Bijan just takes the cake. He's at, I think last time I looked, over 130 rushing and receiving yards. He's my guy here at 9,600. An unbelievable matchup against the Cardinals. He's projected for 93 rushing yards and 40 receiving yards. Just outrageous numbers. He's going to be a major priority for me. And the main reason why I want to spend down on quarterback, because I want to try to get Jahmyr Gibbs in there too. If we can get Bijan and Gibbs in our lineups, we'll be feeling really good because they are projected the most fantasy points on this week, 9,500. Awesome matchup against the Steelers at home. They're favorites. Probably going to be up in this game. I love Jahmyr Gibbs. I just love Bijan Robinson just a little bit more at 9,600. Cheaper guys you could look at, I don't mind Chase Brown with an elite matchup against the Dolphins. He's only 7,200. He's been catching a lot of passes, 18 targets in the last 3 weeks. We know what he's capable of doing. He's averaging, a good amount of fantasy points over the last few weeks. Woody Marks has a great matchup if he's a full go. We don't know with his injury. 3 running backs I was exposed to last week all got hurt. Woody Marks, RJ Harvey, and Devin Neal. I had them throughout my lineups. Just couldn't avoid the injury bug in week 15. It was a nightmare that whole day. I was sitting on my couch, just couldn't believe what was happening. But Woody Marks is in a great spot if he can, shake off his injury and have a, full go on Sunday. He's priced pretty correctly, though, at 7,100. Devin Neal, not bad against the Jets if he's a full go. In terms of cheaper guys, I like Kenneth Gainwell a lot. He is a major focal point in this passing game, as we saw on Monday Night Football against the Dolphins. 7 targets in his last 2 games. I mean, over the last 5 weeks, he has 14, 17, 21, 20, or 24, 31 targets over the last 5 weeks. That's averaging just over 6 targets a game. That's pretty damn good value at 5,800. Aaron Rodgers obviously likes him. He is getting plenty of snaps behind Jaylen Warren as the RB2, and we even saw him line up in the slot a few times. We know the Steelers passing game, they don't really target anyone more than 10 yards down the field outside of DK Metcalf. You have 3 tight ends that are impossible to predict, and then you have Adam Thielen, who's not running long routes. So Aaron Rodgers is looking no more than 10 yards down the field a majority of the time, and a lot of the times he's dumping it off to Kenneth Gainwell. I like him at 5,800. Good matchup against the Lions. They are going to be down in this game most likely, so I wouldn't be surprised if Gainwell ends up seeing more snaps than Jaylen Warren because he looked phenomenal last game. You got to think that Steelers coaching staff is going to make it a priority to get him on the field, as he looked like their best offensive player overall against the Dolphins. So Gainwell at 5,800 is a cheaper guy that's definitely catching my eye. But in terms of favorite guys, Bijan, Jahmyr Gibbs, absolute priorities. Again, both of them projected the most fantasy points on this slate by a wide margin, not including quarterbacks. Wide receiver, if we're going to, be looking to spend up at running backs, obviously you can't spend up everywhere. Jamar Chase is in an awesome spot against the Dolphins, 9,500. It's only a matter of time before he starts scoring touchdowns with Joe Burrow. If you want to go up there, go for it. He's the same price as Bijan and Jahmyr Gibbs, though, and he's not in that same category, in my opinion. Same thing with Amon-Ra St. Brown. His upside, great matchup against the Steelers. Just spending up on wide receiver just doesn't really get me going because of what we have at running back this week. Obviously, I could end up being wrong on that, but you got to go in with a game plan and be committed to what you like, because if you hesitate, you're going to end up not picking the players that you want to pick. But I think we got to go, cheaper to middle tier. I like Chris Olave as a high 7K guy against the Jets. Obviously, the number one priority for this Saints offense had a great week 15, 17.5 fantasy points. He could end up having a huge game against the Jets. Jalen Waddle at 7,100. We'll see if Ewers can get him the ball. Great matchup against the Bengals. But at 6K, we got to go back to Wan'Dale Robinson, projected for 60 receiving yards against the Vikings. Vikings defense has not been good at all, and he's starting to develop a chemistry with Jackson Dart. He's still too cheap. I've been picking him the last few weeks. Did not disappoint last week. 54 receiving yards, a touchdown. He has a touchdown in 2 out of the last 3 weeks. All he needs is anywhere over 10 fantasy points. We're going to feel good. He's projected like last week for like 13.5. So I like Wan'Dale a lot as a value wide receiver at 6K. If you're picking J.J. McCarthy, Justin Jefferson's too expensive on FanDuel at 8,400, but I did see that he's $6,000 on DraftKings this week. He has done absolutely nothing, but I think it's going to be worth a dart throw in on DraftKings this week because 6K is just obnoxiously cheap for a guy like Justin Jefferson. I would not be surprised if he had a big game against the Giants. You could look at Jordan Addison here on FanDuel at 5,900, projected for almost 50 receiving yards. He's the number 2 target for J.J. McCarthy. If you're picking McCarthy, it makes sense if you want to go cheap and save some money on Addison. I'm going to be getting some exposure to him most likely at 5,900. I don't, he's not a must play, but he's definitely a guy that makes sense for a salary saver at 5,900. Marvin Harrison practiced on Wednesday, so we'll see what ends up happening with him. But I like Wan'Dale Robinson the most at wide receiver for value. For my Guru credit code, go to my website, fd-guru.com. Go to the shop page. This is where you buy all your credits to get my memberships and lineups, FanDuel and DraftKings. Make an account if you don't have one. It takes 30 seconds. You don't have to put a credit card down. Just have to confirm an email. This week's code that you plug into this bar here, it'll get you 20 credits, is week 16 NFL 25, all capital letters. Week 16 NFL 25 for the year. And then after it says coupon successfully applied, you will get those credits after a few seconds. For tight end, you got your, stud pay up at Trey McBride, but if I'm going to make running back a priority this week, it's going to be tough to get there. I think we go cheaper here. Kyle Pitts is catching my eye at 6K. We do have to pay attention to Drake London because he's day-to-day right now. He could end up coming back. Pitts coming off of an unbelievable, I think that was Sunday Night Football against the Bucs. 3 touchdowns. We've been waiting for this as fantasy players. He came into the league with a lot of promise, huge guy, great hands, he's fast, and he's been overall a huge disappointment so far. But seeing that game last week was just a joy to watch. If Drake London plays, though, it's going to be tough to get to him at 6K. That obviously cuts into his targets a considerable amount. If Drake London's out again, or he's going to have like a snap count, Kyle Pitts is certainly in play at 6K. We all know what he can do after last week's performance. Great matchup against the Cardinals as well. But you could also look at sub 6K guys. There's plenty of them. TJ Hawkinson, if you're picking JJ McCarthy, makes sense. I wouldn't pick Hawkinson and Jordan Addison, though. One or the other. He's 5,200, cheap price. 8+ fantasy points in the last 3 weeks. I don't hate that. Theo Johnson's a number 3 target behind Darius Slayton and Wan'Dale Robinson. Great matchup against the Vikings. Juwan Johnson, number 2 target. Maybe number 3 target now. Before he was the number 2, but now Vele has become a priority on the Saints offense. Still a top target for the Saints, though, against the Giants. 5,100, good price on him. Darnell Washington was getting some targets. He's not really in play, though, in my opinion, at 5K. Don't mind Juwan Johnson, Theo Johnson, TJ Hawkinson, even Dalton Schultz you could look at. I like Harold Fannin, though, the most. If Drake London's out, I do like Kyle Pitts the most, but assuming London ends up playing, I like Fannin a lot. More news we have to wait on is Njoku. If Njoku's out, Fannin's awesome. If Njoku's in, gets a little hairy, but he was not practicing on Wednesday, so Fannin had 14 targets from Shedeur Sanders. I'm not surprised he only completed half of them because Shedeur Sanders is just the most overhyped player I've ever seen. I hope he does well, but he's done nothing to get the praise that he has gotten by this weird fan base of Shedeur Sanders fans who just can't stop talking about him. He's done nothing, and he's looked terrible. But Fannin's his number 1 target over Jerry Jeudy. I like him at 5,900. If he's going to get double-digit targets, we'll take it. Touchdowns in 2 out of the last 3 weeks. And, they're going to be down in this game to the Bills. So the game script should favor them throwing the ball a lot. It could get very ugly. I think I like the Bills minus 10. But Fannin looks like a good value play at tight end at 5,900. Defense, we go cheap. We got to save some money, and there's a lot of good cheap defenses. Tennessee Titans, bare minimum. Cincinnati Bengals with Quint Ewers at quarterback for the Dolphins, bare minimum. We got the Giants against J.J. McCarthy, but they're popping up as a value defense I saw, but if we're targeting J.J. McCarthy, it obviously makes no sense. Saints, great spot at home against the Jets, 3,500. I don't think we need to go any higher than that. I think those three, Saints, Bengals, Titans, we can save a ton of money here. I don't like spending up on defense unless I absolutely have to. I'm going to go with the Titans. We got Gardner Minshew and the Chiefs. I mean, this Chiefs team is going to be a nightmare. They haven't been able to run the ball. They obviously won all their games because of Mahomes. Not that they won a ton of games, but this Chiefs team is going to be miserable. Rashee Rice is questionable with concussion. I wouldn't be surprised if they hold him out. They're playing for nothing. That could also dive into some Chiefs value plays. I know we're, kind of hurting at value for wide receiver. But Xavier Worthy and or Hollywood Brown could certainly come into play if Rashee Rice is out, even Travis Kelce at 6,300. But I like the Titans defense at bare minimum. I don't see why not. I think Minshew sucks, and they're a top value. Again, I like the Bengals too, even though, their defense started off the year so bad. And then over the last month or so, I mean, they're averaging almost 10 fantasy points a game. They've been showing up. I don't expect viewers to come into this game and play well, so I don't mind the Bengals. They're 3K just like the Titans, so we definitely have some cheaper defenses we could look at. That'll do it for this video, guys. Let's have a huge week 16, couple of rough weeks back to back, but we'll go into this one with a lot of confidence as always. Drop a like on this video, subscribe. Until next time, I am the FD Guru. Peace.